and all of that. Let us know in the chat what team you're rooting for in real life and where you're coming in from. Let's get started on the webinar here today. Speakers that you have in front of you. I'm Nick Pringer, founder and CEO, joined by Mr. Andrew Menke. Andrew, where are you joining us from today?
I am in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
That's right. How's the weather? It's because it's 96, 97 in Omaha today.
Yeah, it's getting up there for us. It'll be in the 90s. Yeah.
If I was better
not quite fall.
If I was better at webinars, I would have put on that screen that little meme that everybody's been sharing about like the different stages of fall, like in the Midwest, right? Like the false fall, like all of that. We're knee deep in the like. Just kidding. It's still middle of summer.
Yep.
Okay. Background on us and what we do. Andrew and I both work at this company called Pringer Solutions Group, where we've got about a team of about 15 or 16 of us. We've worked with nonprofits all over the country. We've got decades and decades of experience. What we do at PSG is we do fundraising consulting, largely in our niche of Catholic dioceses. So there's 177 dioceses in the country. We consult for almost all of them, and we run these big, large, multi-million-dollar appeals with lots of direct mail, lots of multi-channel, online giving, email strategy stuff. That's what we do in our day job. We also provide Razor's Edge database administration, and we do some fun stuff in fundraising automation. All of that kind of seems like a part-time job. Our real job, Andrew, is putting on webinars like this. Like we test things out, and then we share what we learned with our good friends out there. We also developed a little product called AskGenius. Many of you have seen it. If you're here on the webinar, that's probably how you got invited. We can talk a little bit about that later on. It's a pretty cool tool that we built to help ourselves in our consulting work, kind of open it up to the world for people to use in their own direct mail appeals. Today, Andrew, do you know the topic? What are we talking about today?
We're talking about pledge cards.
Yes, you're in the right place. We're talking about pledge cards and fantasy football. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna talk about some of the research, and then I'm gonna walk through, with Andrew's help, the 7 most common mistakes we see. We've designed a whole bunch of pledge cards. We've done A/B testing. We are rigorous about finding out exactly what works the best, so then we can raise more money for our clients. So we're gonna share all that knowledge with you. A couple of housekeeping items. Yes, we are recording this. So if you have to hop out, no problem. Or if you're not here right now and you signed up, good news, you're watching the video right now. So we'll email that to you right after the webinar. If you have questions as we go, on your screen, you'll see a little Q&A button. So if you can, do me a favor and put your questions in the Q&A section. What happens a lot of times is people will write the question in the chat, and then if we don't catch it right away, we'll kind of miss it. It'll disappear in the thread. So put your questions in the Q&A. It'll make sure that we get to it by the end of the webinar here. Okay, so we're going to start like we do in so much of what we share. As I mentioned, PSG, we run large fundraising appeals. Our clients count on us to raise, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars a year. In order for us to do that well, we are always conducting research. We're always looking to get an edge. We always want to get as much data as we have, because if we can just learn a little bit, about any area of fundraising, we can take that lesson, apply it across all of our clients. Everybody wins. We raise more money. They have more money to, further their mission. So about a year and a half, 2 years ago, Andrew actually led this study. We went to all of our clients and all of the dioceses, that niche that we work in, and we asked hundreds of clients. We said, give us your pledge cards, right? Show us what it is that you send to your donors, because we want to find out what works best. So they sent their pledge card design. They sent us a ton of data. They sent us the results. They sent us their strategies for ask strings and everything. And that led us down this path, candidly, to the AskGenius product that we ended up building, but also to changing the way that we look at fundraising pledge cards. We took the data. We ran our own A/B tests. The very first A/B test that we did was on the size of a pledge card. So we'll jump right in with our first tidbit of lessons that we've learned for you. We tested out for a client. I think there's about 70,000 households that we're mailing to, and half of them received a standard pledge card. At about a third of a page here on the left, it's marked with an A. The other half of the potential donors received a full-size pledge card. We had read in a book somewhere that full-size pledge cards might outperform regular pledge cards. So we said, you know what, let's test it. And here's what we found. The full-page pledge card, average gift was $1,700 to this particular appeal, which was 20% higher but with a caveat, it was only with major donors. We did not see an impact for regular donors, but for those folks who were giving $10,000 or more, they really did end up giving more with the full page pledge card. In terms of participation rate, it was also higher, 20% higher among major donors than everybody else. So I'll put you on the spot, Mr. Menke. What is your hypothesis? Why would major donors respond better to a full size pledge card, do you think?
My takeaway from this is because major donors are older, so a full size pledge card is easier to read.
I think you're exactly right. I think you're maybe a little bit ageist, but
okay,
but
come on.
That we did, for the folks on the line, you might have been a part of this. We did a webinar about a year ago where Andrew weighed in on something, and he made some offhand comment about how he said something about, older people, 50 and older or something like that. And the whole webinar exploded, and the chat just exploded, and everybody was terribly offended. So ever since then, whenever we have a chance, we make sure Andrew weighs in on the age of the average donor.
I'm
Andrew,
always the one who has to cover that topic.
Always. I'm not jumping into that. What is the average age of a donor?
It would be 60 plus. Am I right?
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yep. I think it's 68 now. It's always been 68. We can talk forever about, younger donors. Yes, there is such a thing, but your average donor is always going to be about 68 years old, right? So it's okay to cater to them. Okay. So with that, that was the first A/B test we ran, just kind of giving you a sense of what it is that we do in our consulting work, and then what is the basis for, what we're sharing now. So let's jump into it. This will be a fast-moving webinar, and we'll get to a lot of questions. 7 common pledge card mistakes and how to fix them. All right. Mistake number 1. Let's kick it off. I'm going to start with the most controversial. Asking for credit card information on the pledge card. Here's what I mean. This is a pretty standard pledge card. You will see it probably looks like a lot of the folks who are on the line here today. On the left, that big section that says credit card information, and they can write in their name and they can write in their card number. We do not recommend including credit card on your pledge forms anymore. Here is what we would rather you do, because it's going to raise you more money. It's going to save you a bunch of time. It's going to give a better donor experience. We strongly recommend use that real estate right now that is asking for credit card information and send your donors to give online. Here are the reasons why. Number 1, PCI compliance, whether you are processing gifts internally, whether you're using a lockbox or a gift processing vendor, it's just not good practice to have credit card numbers floating around. Okay, so I've been in hundreds of the smaller nonprofits. I know what it's like. You get the mail, you open it up, and somebody has made you a donation and they've written their credit card information on that card. I would wager that 9 out of 10 small nonprofits are not handling that information correctly, right? It's not getting locked in a room somewhere in a safe. You're not controlling access to that information. It's just there for the taking. That's not to say that anybody's stealing that, but it provides the opportunity for people to do that, and it's just not good behavior. So from PCI compliance standpoint, don't collect that information, okay? From a fundraising standpoint, here's the good news. People give more when they give online. They just do, right? So the difference between somebody that writes in a check versus when they go online to enter their own information, they give more. When you get someone to go online to make a gift, that is our target goal based on all of our research, because they're more likely to make a recurring gift when they give online. It's easier for you to process the gifts when they give online. You are guaranteed to get an email when someone makes an online gift. And why is that good? And why do we want people's emails, Mr. Menke?
Because emailing is free. So you get to use it as much as you want, and you can cultivate that donor as much as you want for free. So it's a great thing to get.
Yep. I read, this isn't something that we did, but I read a research study that said an email address is worth, I think, $25 more per gift, right, for your donor. So if you look in your donor database, folks with an email address on file, it's worth about $25 a gift. That's huge, right? That is a win-win. So we want people to go online. They give more. They're more likely to make a recurring gift. It's easier to process the gifts. You get their email on file. It allows you also to control that experience and what it's like to make a gift to your organization. I know it's terrifying. We were scared. We moved a couple of really large clients in this direction. So from a pledge card where people were writing in their credit card information and sending it in, to one where the pledge card moved people to, says go online if you want to make a gift, right, credit card. We were terrified we were going to see a huge drop off. We did not, right? So 2 massive clients of ours have made this leap. Both had the same experience. There was no drop off. And now the number of email addresses have exploded. The number of recurring gifts have dramatically increased. Much better experience. So if you want to know more about that, feel free to drop me a line, and I'm more than happy to hop on the call and talk that through with anybody. Okay. Mistake number 2. What do we got here? Sorry, I made the mistake of opening up the Q&A early, Mr. Mankey, to see if there's anything. Then I got all distracted. All right, mistake number 2, not using scan lines or package codes. All right, Andrew, what is a package code? What am I talking about there? We ever talked about this? So this is the scan line, the bar.
Yeah, scan lines down there.
So if, a lot of our clients use Razor's Edge. So we talk about appeals and funds and campaigns and all that stuff. Package code, if I'm using this correctly, is what you can use to track your mailings, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe you send a certain type of letter to a certain type of donor, or you want to assign all of your live months with something, or if you have a special events follow-up, whatever it is, take that information, and it is the year 2022. Put yourself in a position that you can actually track how you're doing. Okay. So if you're sending out pledge cards, and if you have different kinds, if you have different audiences, really get in the habit of using those package codes, because that's going to let you create your automatic dashboards that see how different letters are performing. You may be surprised. You may be able to get rid of some of the stuff that you've always been doing because those don't perform as well. And as far as scan lines, which we see down here, you can have barcodes or you can have a string of numbers. The number one thing we hear from printers when it comes to pledge card design is they want to make sure you have some white space around that barcode. So if whether you're processing these in-house, whether you're using a lockbox or a gift processor, you take advantage of the technology, right? We don't need to type in every donor's information anymore. It's 2022. We can put that information into a scan line, into a barcode. That way it makes your job a little bit easier. All you need to do is verify and add any new information. Yeah, make sense? All right. Mistake number 3, confusing design and unnecessary language. Andrew, do you know the number one reason? So if you're at a nonprofit, let's call it Humane Society. Why does your pledge card look the way that it does?
Because it's always looked that way.
Yes, that is exactly right. That is exactly right. The only reason that your pledge card looks the way it does is because that's how it looked last year. And that's how it looked the year before that. We have seen a bunch of great pledge cards. We've seen even more terrible pledge cards. Do not be afraid to change it, right? There's nothing magical about your pledge card that you can't fix it. Here's an example I want to share. Design elements. So this is from an organization we work with that will remain nameless. You will notice there's a wonderful photo in the background, right? And it's these kids that are going to benefit from a gift to the organization. However, this is nearly impossible to read for your average donor, who Andrew Mankey told us is a really old person. The average donor is 68 years old. Do not underestimate how hard it is to read things when you have a photo background. I know that your graphic designers love to do stuff like this. I know that they love to use italics and they like to write things, sideways up the sides of cards and make it look very artistic. Stop doing it. It will depress giving. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't think you have to be older to be distracted by the image in the background.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to distract them from the task at hand. That's very important.
Yep. It's just make things, your only job as a fundraiser. I get artistic license. Your job is not to be artistic. Your job is to be a plumber, right? You need to, tug at the heartstrings with your letter and then give them a pledge card form that they can fill out without too much hassle. Andrew, do you see anything else on here that's not needed?
Yeah, one thing jumped out. It's taken up a lot of space too. So it's the Visa, MasterCard, American Express check. You don't need that anymore. That's outdated. If you go online and if you're paying for something online, all you're entering is your card number, and that's all you need. And you'll actually, as you enter your card number, it'll check the Visa or American Express for you. So it automatically knows based off of the number. So you don't need those check boxes.
And that's how we can tell with great confidence that the only reason your pledge card looks a certain way is because it was like that a year ago, because it's been years since that's been needed, that you've needed to check that. But it still shows up on pledge card after pledge card. And you have limited real estate, right? So use that spot more wisely, right? Ask for a spouse's email, ask for, any other information that you might need that's going to be more helpful. They do not need to check that box. Okay. On the topic of confusing language and design, again, another example here, a very well-intentioned organization. This was to make a gift, I think, for a tuition assistance program. It seemed probably like a great idea, right? So we're offering different amounts that you can give. $35, I think, was the average daily tuition cost versus the average trimester cost. But on this pledge card, this organization is looking for a one-time gift. And then if you're the donor, just imagine what your experience is like responding to this pledge card. There's a whole bunch of numbers, and then there's a whole bunch of things that talk about days and weeks and months and trimester. If I'm filling this out, I don't know if I'm making a one-time gift, if I'm going to get a bill again in a month. It's just too much, right? So we understand the desire to tie things, to impact and all of that. Don't worry about that on your pledge card. Do not over-design your pledge card. You've got to make it simple. Ask them for an amount, put a good amount in front of them, and make it nice and clean and easy. Okay. And on that topic, we're not just here to pass judgment. We're here to help as well. So we've done all of our research. We have a fundraising template that you can use. And I'll ask Mr. Bridger, who's on the line with us, to share the link to this. We've done an entire webinar on designing the world's greatest pledge card, right? And why we do what we do, why we start with that affirmation statement, why we have those numbers throughout. You can download that for free. We'll share the link if we haven't already in the chat. So if you're looking to start fresh, you can either take this template and run with it, or just go and download the template and then use it to compare to the pledge card you already have. And you're going to see the differences, and maybe you have questions about why, feel free to shoot me a note and we'll explain it. But it's just nice, clean, simple illustration for what you can do for your organization. Okay. Mistake number 4, this one's near and dear to our hearts, not personalizing your ask amounts. Here's what we learned in all of the research that we did. There's really 2 kinds of pledge cards that nonprofits are using. Okay. You have what we call an open-ended pledge card, which looks like this. Where you present the donor with a $sign and an underline, and they fill in the blank, right? As we talked about earlier, I think we talked about this earlier, that is something that major gift donors will respond to. So if you have leadership level gifts, 10,000 and up, send them this version of an open-ended pledge card. Okay, it works really well with major donors. Okay, open-ended pledge card, major donors. What we talked about, the opening of this larger pledge card for major donors, that works well. For everybody else, the 90+% of people that you're going to be mailing your appeal to, you want to give them a pledge card with ask amounts. Okay, you want to present them with what we call an ask string. It's also called an ask ladder, request amounts, ask amounts, bump table, gift table. We can't agree on what it is we call them. We call them ask strings. Here is how nonprofits. Sorry, let me back up. We did another test. Okay, we're big on testing. We took one of our clients and we split their mailing in 2. Again, I think this was about 100,000 folks that we had, and half of them, we sent them personalized request amounts on their pledge card. Okay, so you have version ABCD. We actually had, I think, 300 different ask strings in there, customized to the individual donor, and then we sent everybody else the standard ask string, right? 100, 150, 250. The personalized ask amounts raised, the average increase in gift was 29%. The national average for donors increasing their gift year to year is 4.5%, which is what we found in this study as well. So we know that this works. We know that if you put a personalized ask amount in front of somebody, they will respond. They will end up increasing their gifts. You will raise more money for your organization. So stop sending everybody a one-size-fits-all pledge card. Okay, don't do that. It's 2022. You can do better. You can raise more money without having to add staff. This led us down, this finding led us down in that research project, led us down a rabbit hole into how do we set the perfect ask amount. So we knew that we need to put numbers in front of donors, and not just count on them to write in a number, because most of the time they're going to write in something lower than if we do our job and we prompt them. Maybe they write in $25 and we would have prompted them at 50 and we would have netted that 50. So Andrew and I wanted to know, how do we set the perfect ask amounts? So we went down and we did what we always do, and we did a bunch of research, and we found out there's 3 ways that nonprofits set ask amounts right now. Okay, at the top. Method 1, they don't set ask amounts. They send everybody the same pledge card. Method 2 is you create sort of a high, a medium, and a low, and your best donors get the high ask amounts and your non-donors get the low ask amounts. Method 3, which is about a little bit less than a third of all nonprofits, we ask for about 10% more than what they gave the year before, right? There's some sort of an algorithm behind it. We're going to ask for a custom amount, and that custom amount is almost always, what did the donor give last year? Take it times 1.1 and ask them for that amount. This was frustrating to us because in our work, we have these clients who have so much data sitting inside their system, whether it's Razor's Edge or Bloomerang or Salesforce, Virtuous, whatever it might be. You have all this data that you've spent a lot of time and effort and energy and blood and sweat and tears to collect. You know what they gave last year. You know what they gave to your capital campaign, whether they gave to a special event. You know what zip code they live in, so you can make an assumption about affluence. You know the largest gift they've ever made, how long it's been, all of that data that you have inside your system. And then our clients go to do their direct mail and they're not using any of that data. So Andrew and I decided we have a better idea. What if we set custom amounts for every single household, right? So we don't want to just ask everybody for 10% more, because for some people it's gonna be too much, and for a lot of people it's gonna be too little. So what we did was we said we want to take all of the data as an experiment. Let's take all the data we have on every donor and let's set a custom amount for every single household, and then let's just see what happens. So we went into a couple of our clients that were willing to be guinea pigs on this. They let us into their Razor's Edge, and we did what everybody does in Razor's Edge. We immediately hit the export button and got all of that data out of Razor's Edge into an we call it AskGenius. We built it for our own use so that as we're working with our clients to raise tens of millions of dollars, we could set custom ask amounts without having to have too much fuss. And it turns out that's something a lot of nonprofits wanted to do. So we put it out there in the marketplace. 2 more slides on whether or not this works, and I'll ask if anybody wants more information. We'll put up a poll and you can note it and we'll follow up with you. Otherwise, we'll move on to get to the other pledge card mistakes. So does it work? We started in our world, which is, again, Catholic dioceses who were paying us to run their annual appeals. Started with Diocese of Dallas. They raised $1 million more on their direct mail appeal by setting these personalized ask amounts. This year, they're on track to raise an additional $800,000 on top of that. Huge win. Diocese of Lafayette, Andrew, I know you've been working closely with our friend Margaret there. Mm-hmm. Their average gift is up 36%. Participation is up 60%. Again, this is just by setting personalized ask amounts on your direct mail, getting it out the door, and asking every donor for an amount that's meaningful to them based on all the data that you have. Diocese of Phoenix, increase their average gift 20% in year 1. Recurring gifts increased by 300%, which is absolutely fantastic. Last one I have for you, we just got these numbers in from the Diocese of Trenton. We really took a deep dive in Trenton, and what we found was by any conservative measure, AskGenius raised them an extra $300,000 just by optimizing the ask strings. They were already doing a sophisticated direct mail program. They tried AskGenius to see if it did any better. $300,000 more increased. For them, that was a 2,900% return on investment. So we're pretty proud of it. We spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears putting AskGenius together. Last thing I'll say about that, I will put up a poll. So if anybody wants to know more about AskGenius, feel free. We'll float this for about 10 or 15 seconds here. Let us know if you want to learn more about AskGenius. We can follow up with you. That is our interest in putting on all of these webinars. We love helping people design better pledge cards and donation pages and email strategies. We've committed to building in public. In return, we have a really great product that we think can help a lot of you. So if you want to know more, let us know and we'll follow up and we'll go from there. So we'll give it about another 10 seconds. We got about 60% participation. Go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Andrew, what mistake were we on? Oh, it's on the screen. I gave it away.
Putting ask strings in the wrong order.
Yes. This is, I'm going to lean on you for this one because you spearheaded our research into this. So we tested what size of pledge card. Remember, major donors, give them a full page pledge card, everybody else a normal size one. We tested ask amounts versus just generic, say everybody gets the same one. We found out ask amounts work better. We talked about how to set the perfect ask amounts. So then we wanted to know how should we put those ask amounts on the pledge card, right? So here's what we did. We had control group A. We ran this test for a large client in Nashville about 2 years ago. And they got what we're going to call ascending ask strings, right? So this is the pledge card numbers that we're asking them to consider went from low to high. Test group got descending ask strings, so high to low. And before I share the results, let's take a quiz. Let's see if the crowd can guess. Let me go. Okay, so before I tell you which one outperformed. I want to know what the community thinks. Ascending or descending? We'll give it about 10 seconds here, let people weigh in. This one was so much fun. We had read a little bit in advance of testing this out, so we had a hunch about what worked better.
Yeah, I totally got this wrong when you first presented this question to me.
But there's nothing better. Like I live for that. I love for the experiments. We have the best clients in the world that let us run these experiments so that we can learn and then share everything we learn for free. Like I just love what we do. Okay. Ooh, the good news is the group got it wrong. All right.
I was right there with you.
All right. So Mr. Menke, the group's 70% think that you should do descending ask strings, which is great because that means 70% of you walked away with a concrete thing you can do here today to raise more money. Ascending ask strings generated 17% higher giving than descending. So Mr. Menke, as a convert, why do we think that is? What does the research say? What have we found out in studying this?
Yeah, so research shows us, well, what the takeaway really is. And this comes from companies like NextAfter, which is a big fundraising research company. Our own studies, Tom Ahern, he did some studies on this as well.
Love Tom Ahern.
Yeah, he's great. If you want a good follow Tom Ahern. So the takeaway is that when you're presenting these ask strings, it's a form of communication. So if you're starting from low to high, your acceptable amount that you're presenting to them is, in this case, $100. If you're going 500 to 100 in descending order, you're telling them the acceptable amount is $500. So it tends to come across as, well, if I can't give $500, then I won't give at all, which tends to create lower gift amounts, and then participation rate also goes down. So it's a two-time loser. It's participation and then lower total revenue.
Yep. And we talked to a couple donors about this too, and it makes sense just to hear how they work, right? So from left to right, that's how we read. Let's say I'm a $100 donor, right? And I'm looking at this test in front of us. At $100, I'm going to see that $100 the first thing, and I'm going to say, yeah, that's usually what I give. But I'm also going to peek over to the right and say, okay, what's the next level? Maybe I can give a little bit more. If I'm a $100 donor and I'm starting there and the first thing is 500, I'm feeling bad. I'm like, it's like a micro failure, right? I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, okay, I can't do that. And it's presenting me with a bunch of defeats, right? Instead of a bunch of little victories. And I thought that made a lot of sense. And at the end, we could probably philosophize a lot about why it is, but the hard cold truth is it raised you more money. We've tested it. Others have tested it. So if you're putting your pledge card ask string from left to right, use ascending amounts. Okay. All right. And we got some good questions in the chat and in the Q&A. Make sure keep sending those questions in here. We're almost wrapped up on the top 7, and then we'll dig into any of these topics you want to know more about. Okay. So mistake number 6. One size fits all donation page links. Here's what I'm talking about. And there's been unbelievable technological advances in this that we're going to talk about. So this is one of the sample pledge cards that came in. When we're talking about one size fits all links, we're talking about this. It's understandable. You send everybody a pledge card. On that pledge card, you say, hey, if you'd like to make a gift, go here. And they probably arrive at a donation page. It looks like this. This is a wonderful donation page. I just pulled it off of Google. You're sending people to your front door. That worked well for years and years, right? You want to give people the opportunity to give online. That's great. But it kind of falls apart now that we know that by setting personalized ask amounts for everyone, we can raise more money. So what happens when I have a list, of 10,000 people, and of those 10,000, there's 4,000 different ask strings I'm putting out there. I don't want to send them to a one size fits all page anymore. I want that donor that just asked for $350 to go to a page that's more in line with 350, not to go to our general giving page, which maybe starts at 25 or 50. So what we've done, I'll walk through what we've done for our clients now, and then let's talk about making what's coming up. So instead of sending people to a one size fits all donation page, we've created segmented donation pages for our clients. And many of them are on Razor's Edge. Many of them also use Fundraise Up or Give Central or any of the other wonderful online giving software solutions out there. Here's what we do. I would love to get people's feedback. We create, on average, about 10 to 12 donation pages for every appeal that we send out. So on the screen, you'll see, page 1 through 4. recurring gift page starting at $10 all the way up to a recurring gift page starting at $150. And then we create one-time giving pages. We create a low one, we create a high one. Then we create a pledge page for those people that want to make a pledge. Generally, we only need to create one of those. And then there's always some unique pages. Our research has found, and we did an entire webinar on this. I'll ask one of our friends to drop that in the chat on how to design the perfect donation page, and we really get into details on this. Signature donors, major donors deserve their own page that talks about IRA giving and shows them people like you make gifts like this. So they get their own page. Our defaults, one size fits all page for anybody that comes in the front door. And then a special project page, which might be if you're doing a text to give or doing some sort of test. So if we, PSG, are running an appeal for any of our clients, there's at least 10 to 12 donation pages. But the thing is, the donor has no idea, because to the donor, all they're seeing is a pledge card, which has, your organization's name and then a slash. And one of them might be /appeal, /donate, /steward, on and on and on. So when we're personalizing the ask amounts, we're also sending them a personalized URL, which in our case is one of maybe 12 different donation pages. Okay, so that's how we tackle it. We've had great success. No surprise, we measure it like crazy to make sure that all this extra work is actually worth it, and it is. We get increased giving. So that's how we do it. I mean, just an example of what this can mean for your organization. The client case study, we have a client in Kansas City. The year before they started working with us, they had 169 online gifts. We went with this strategy of personalizing and really promoting online giving. They went up to almost 1,000 online gifts, right? They went from $100,000 by online to 800,000 simply by promoting online giving. It will work for you. It's easy, low-hanging fruit. Okay. That led to the question. So we're now on the topic of, we want people to give online. We want to move them online. We want to make sure that donation experience is custom to them. We know that donors who give online end up giving more. And we had a client who said, okay, well, Nick, is that actually, are people on an individual family basis making that increase? Or is that just people who like to give online tend to give more? So what we did was a fun study, and this was in, I believe, Knoxville. We wanted to check. So we went back and we looked at people who moved their giving online. So in this case, it was folks who gave by check in 2020, and then they gave online in 2021. And we found that 34% of people increased their gift. When they moved from giving by check to giving online, 34% increased, 43% stayed the same, only 22% increased. But look at that next column. The people that increased their gift, they on average doubled their gift. The people who decreased on average went down less than half, right? So the net is hugely positive for the organization. So we know not just that people give more online, we know that if you can specifically move someone from a paper giver to an online giver, good things would happen. We ran the same test and we looked only at recurring gift donors. So people who made recurring gifts, those sustaining monthly contributions. Same result, but even more dramatic. 83% of people who made recurring gifts gave more when they gave online. On average, more than doubled their gift, right? Only 14% decreased, and those who did decrease only went down by 14%. So this is your shot in the arm for all the folks that are on the line here today. Really promote online giving. Take credit card information off your pledge card, not just because of the compliance and security things, but because I want your people who want to give by credit card, I want them to give online. I want to control the experience. I want to increase giving that way. Mistake number 7, same topic, not promoting recurring gifts. Okay. Here's what we do, and you'll see it on the pledge card template that we've shared with you. You can go watch the entire webinar where we focused on how to design the pledge card. Here's what we do to highlight monthly gifts. We really, really love asking donors as step number 1, choose, are you a monthly donor or are you a one-time donor? In this case, you can see this was the A/B test where we went with descending ask string. So I want to make sure, don't take this pledge card. This was the experiment. This is the version that did not perform as well. But what does work is highlighting. Ask a donor, do you want to give monthly or do you want to give one time? And then for those that are monthly, we default to a recurring gift, right? And they can just say, you know what, I'll give monthly. Make it easy on the donor until I ask you to stop, or maybe just till the end of the year. It's okay to design your pledge cards the way that donors actually think. Donors do not think of themselves as sustainers, right? They don't think of themselves as members of the president's circle of monthly givers. That's not how the world works. They think of themselves as, I'm either a one-time gift right now, you're going to get this check from me, or I'm willing to sign up for a monthly gift. And then if they're a monthly giver, they're thinking, yeah, through the end of the year, which we would define as a pledge. They have no idea what the word pledge means. They're not used to that. They're not working in fundraising. So they can either give you a recurring gift or a pledge gift, but put it in the language they understand. You will see great success. We've done this for clients after clients. Again, that link that you give them, you want it to customize. We want to default it to a monthly giving page. So when that donor goes to make the gift, they arrive at a page that follows up with a letter, and it follows up with a pledge card which says, would you be a monthly recurring giving supporter? Multiple versions, of course, based on the donor's capacity. When you do that, good things happen. 7% of direct mail donors make a recurring gift. Somewhere in this case, we had 31% of online donors make a recurring gift. As we've done this more and more and more for our clients, it seems that is actually somewhere between about 24 and 28%. If you can get people to give online, if you present them with monthly giving options at the start of the funnel, somewhere around a quarter of them will take you up on it and sign up for a recurring gift, which is absolute a superpower for a nonprofit to have those donors signed up, making those recurring gifts. Those gifts don't lapse. You can actually fund your projects and priorities with confidence. Every year, your annual appeal doesn't start at zero because you've got monthly givers already in the pipeline. So wonderful things happen there. Okay. If you found this helpful, so I've talked a lot. I'm excited to get to Q&A here. So I apologize that we went through so much information here. If you found this helpful, a couple things. We have a newsletter that we send out, not on any regular basis. It's not like every Monday morning or every other Tuesday or something like that. It's roughly about once a month, maybe every other month, when we have something to say. So if there's a new research project out there, if there's some great finding, if there's something we really think is important, we'll let you know. So feel free to sign up there. I'm sure we'll drop the link in the chat. And with that, let's get to Q&A. So Andrew, I've been talking for a while. Anything in the Q&A that we really want to get to?
Yeah, we have a few questions. I do want to add mistake number 9, though, if that's okay. So
please
going back to the ask strings, what I've found and what I've seen from clients, if you include what they gave last year, almost not, I wouldn't say almost all, but many of your donors will just default to what they gave last year. So my advice is not to include what the donor gave last year, even if it's a way of saying thanks or appreciation, because your donors will go back to what they gave last year instead of increasing their gift. So I would leave that out of the pledge card. I would actually go so far as leave it out of the appeal letter as well. Thank them some other time or before you send out the appeal, but yeah, don't include that into your pledge card.
Yep, well said. And on that, yes, watch the webinar that we did on how to design the world's greatest pledge card. We go into really good detail on that. In one of the questions I see here, person says, anonymous attendee says, we cannot afford to print 12 different pledge cards, with those different links. 2 answers. One, you can't afford not to, right? So at the end of the day, this is just a math problem, right? If what it costs you is less than what it's going to raise you, then you're crazy not to do it. But secondly, talk to your printer. It is 2022. I say this over and over again. You can drop variable data into a pledge card. You're no longer sending your supporters a dear supporter letter, right? You're inserting their name there. You're personalizing that letter to them. You're including their address. It's the same principle carried over to the pledge card. Many of our clients print the pledge card at the bottom on the same sheet of paper as the letter itself. You just need to provide your printer with those spots where you're going to drop in the variable data. So don't look at it as we need to print 2,000 pledge cards and then stuff one into every envelope. It's all just part of the same printing process. You customize a letter to your donor, and then you also provide the printer not just the person's name and address, you provide them the ask strings. And the printer's job is to put that variable text onto your pledge card. I guarantee you your printer can do it. And if not, it's time to candidly talk to a new printer. Andrew, am I too strong on that?
No, it's time to make that change.
Yep.
You're leaving too much money on the table not to. So,
and you're also
talk to your printer. It's worth
you're leaving money on the table, and it's not a good donor experience. Like if I'm a donor, like I don't want to get asked for some astronomical amount because you can only afford to, put one amount out there. I want to get asked for something that's appropriate for me, whether it's $50, $200, $500. So now's the time, right? Okay. What else? We had a question, I think, might have been in the chat, and what I always fear happens. I lost it. It was a question.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Let's go with one from Barb here. So okay. Our older donors will not go online to donate. Will provide their credit card information. So what's the workaround for that?
Yep. So this was the fear that we had. So we knew that people, when we moved clients, we're talking about taking the credit card off of the pledge card. We were nervous the first couple times that we would lose those donors, right? The people that would write their credit card on a piece of paper but wouldn't give online. What we found was our nervousness, our worries were misplaced. We did not lose donors. They can make the choice, right? If they're willing to put that credit card on the piece of paper on the pledge card, they can either give by check or they can go give online. My experience is that nonprofits dramatically underestimate the ability for people to give to go online, right? We have this vision of donors who can barely write out with a pen that amount and send it in, but they're befuddled by a computer. Yes, there are those donors who are in their 90s, right, or upper 80s. Most donors that are in their upper 60s and certainly in their 70s and lower 80s, if they want to give by credit card, they're more than comfortable with giving online, right? So there'll be some exceptions, but what you're doing is if you design just for those small amount of exceptions, you're going to leave so much money on the table and you're not going to be able to, raise what you can raise, and it's not a good giving experience for everybody else. So I understand the concern, but I am telling you, they will either, here's what's going to happen. You'll have maybe a dozen donors that write in a credit card information anyway. They'll just find a way to put it on the sheet and they'll write it in. The vast majority of them will end up going online and making the gift there. And it's a better experience for them because it's more secure. And when you go to make a gift online, your web browser almost always will remember that amount, right? You just start typing in your name, your credit card's in there, it's secure. So I understand the concern. We shared it as well. We don't share it anymore because we've done it so many times.
Yeah, well put. So I found one in the chat. So how about, Angela is talking about ask strings here. How about from top to bottom for ascending versus descending amounts?
Right. So we did a webinar. I wonder if we can find the link. We did a webinar with Fundraise Up, which is an online giving platform that's out there. And they found, so we work, all the testing we've done is around direct mail and everything else. They do online giving. They found it was from top to bottom, it should be the largest amount on top. Is that right?
Yeah. So that's mobile. So if that's online. So top to bottom, online, on mobile, it should be high amount on top, low amount on bottom is what they found. With pledge cards, it's the same principle. It's the lowest amount on top, largest amount at the bottom. So same principle as if you had it horizontally stacked. So it's same thing. You start with the lowest, go to the highest. If you're online, start with the highest, go to the lowest.
Yep. So that's fascinating. And that's, again, we live for this. We live for getting all this data so that you don't have to go comb through studies. We'll tell you what we found, what we tested, what other organizations have found. So on paper, you want the first amount they read to be the lowest amount. Mm-hmm. Okay, question from Jennifer. This is a great question. Major donor for our organization is 1,000 and above, not 10,000. Totally get it. That puts you right in the smack dab middle of most nonprofits. Should you use the open pledge card for that segment? No, you should not, right? Do not. The only time you should send somebody an open-ended pledge card is if they are giving roughly 10,000 or more. Every organization is going to decide on their own, but those top leadership givers who want that experience of writing in the amount, look at it this way. Only send an open-ended pledge card if it would be weird to present them with the checkbox for that amount, right? If I'm a donor that's giving $25,000, the last thing I want to do is get a pledge card from an organization with hey, would you check and give the $25,000? Like, yes, feels like I'm taken for granted, doesn't feel special. At any organization where $1,000 is a major gift, give them an ask string and you will raise more money. Okay. I saw a question from Kim who had asked again about, just to recap the major donor, the tear off pledge card versus like the larger full size. Kim, if you joined late, we ran the test for most donors. So 95% use the standard pledge card, right? There was no difference on whether you gave them a full size or a standard, third of a page. There was a difference among major leadership level donors who we assume it's because they might be a little bit older and it's more user friendly to have a bigger document. So that was the finding from that first one that we did. All right, Mr. Mankey, what else?
From Barbara, we have the credit card types can be helpful to let donors know what type of cards your organization accepts.
Yep.
I agree. Yep.
That's
just don't put the check marks. Don't take up real estate. You can put that in small print.
You can put in small print.
Yeah.
Or honestly, it only matters if there's cards you don't accept, right? So if you accept all the credit cards, then it doesn't matter to be helpful for the donor. No matter what they put in, you're going to be able to, to process that gift. But very good point. Okay, we got Kim's there.
Do you have an other amount option on your ask strings?
Yep. You want to take that?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Yep. Always leave a spot open for another other amount. So you have your personalized ask strings. At the end of the personalized ask strings, you have an other with a checkbox next to it. Definitely always leave that option in there.
Yep. Great question from Joelle. So from online giving, does the donor receive an electronic thank you? And for the segmented donation pages, is the e-thank you the same message for all segments or not? So this, this opens up a whole can of worms here of topics we're passionate about. So whatever the receipt is, it should, the default receipt is going to say thank you to so-and-so, for this gift and this amount and everything else. So it's going to be related to the amount they gave. So you don't have to set up different ones for every donation form. You just need to make sure that your e-receipt has the donor's name and then whatever amount they just gave. Taking it to the next level, and we've had some webinars on this, on automation and heartfelt emails, where the world is going is you can automate a process that when a donor makes a gift, they automatically get that receipt, very normal transactional type stuff. But then you can also automate something that maybe every 3 or 4 days, it looks at people who made gifts, and then it sends them a heartfelt email, not as like an auto acknowledgement thing and not as an e-blast, but as an actual draft email from you, the development director or major gift donor, to them saying, hey, Joelle, I just saw that you made this gift. That's fantastic. I just want to know that we really appreciate you. So I know that's not where you're going with your question, but it does bring up something we hear a lot now because of all the work we're doing in automation and customizing, responses to donors. We'll have more webinars on that topic. Look for anything on the topic of automation when we announce it. Sign up if you're interested in that. Sign up for our e-newsletter, and we'll make sure that we'll promote that. So long-winded way of saying yes, your email should be personalized to the donor. That's just normal best practice.
We have a couple of event questions, fundraising event questions. So the first one is, when you are speaking the levels at an event, does this still hold true about ascending versus descending ask amounts? I'll first put it out there. I have very limited knowledge of fundraising events. I've ran one gala, that's it. I would trust your auctioneer or the person in charge of that event that you hire the third party to tell you what's worked best in the past. What I've seen is you always, when you're doing like a give to a need or fund a need is what it's called. I've always seen it as you start with the top level and then work your way down. So that's what I've seen. I'm not sure what evidence is out there. Nick, have you heard of anything different?
No. This is I'm rarely short of an opinion, but I don't know enough about this, right? Yeah. So I would say trust your judgment. I don't want to weigh in and steer you wrong, but I think take the principles we applied here, apply it to special events. I think you're going to be fine. Barb had a question, confirm the size for the pledge card. And Barb, I'm going to promote again, like we did a whole webinar on the topic of pledge card. So where we got into sizes and things, and that might interest you. The standard is the third of a page. Or if you're working with a printer, it's typically they'll print a letter, they'll use a legal size sheet of paper, and 8.5 inches of that, or 11 inches of that they'll use for your letter. Then we'll have a perf, and what remains on that legal size sheet is your pledge card. Question of tear off, no tear off. We get into this on the webinar. There is some research out there that shows people give more when it's not a perforate, when it's like a standalone, what we call standalone pledge card. You get a nice heartfelt letter, and then you have a reply card tucked into the fold of an envelope. Feels a little bit more professional, a little bit more heartfelt. There is some information that research that says they'll give more. We haven't found it to be enough to justify the expense and the risk of running two separate merges through your printer. Because if the printer can print it all and perforate it, they only have to do one match, right? You give them the data file, you give them the letter, they do all the variable printing, and it's all in there, and you know that it's going to be right. If you're asking them to also do a customized pledge card and a customized letter, they have to match those two things together, and the odds that a printer screws that up skyrocket, right? That they mismatch, and Andrew Mankey gets a pledge card for his neighbor or whatever it might be. So that's how we look at it. So we're fine with perforated. If you have an unlimited budget and you can do it, you might want to give it a shot to stand alone. And please report back to us and let us know. What else, Mr. Mankey? Any other good ones in here that we haven't tackled yet?
Other things to include in your pledge card. So this question comes from Kathy. What about including employer will match? I have included you in my will. Do we ditch those? Do we keep those? There's other example. There's other things that a lot of organizations put on their pledge cards. What do you think about that?
Yep. So on the template that we came up with, and do not underestimate the amount of time and energy that went into designing the world's perfect pledge card that we shared there. We do have a spot for, yes, I'd like to talk about leaving something, in my will, leaving a planned gift. We do encourage that. What we find for most nonprofits is they have like 3 or 4 of those statements, and no matter what happens, what a donor, there's like no follow-up or activity that ever happens. So if that's the case, use the real estate for something else, right? If you're asking donors all those questions and then it doesn't spur anything on your end, then you don't need to ask it. But we do think not I've left you in my will, but I think I'd like to talk to someone, about leaving in my will. That's probably a more effective use of the space. You can follow up with them and have those conversations. Matching gift from employer. There's some organizations out there. I think Double the Donation would probably have more information on this than we would. I think it's, again, if there's action that you can take, if you know that there are employers in your area that do have, those types of programs, I think it's great to include. Andrew, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would. I'm thinking back to my campaign days. I know there's information out there, information you can purchase, or it might be on the web where you can find companies and which ones match, which ones don't. Yeah. And then if you know the information about your donors, what companies they're part of, maybe you can segment your letters to include that information. Or
even do a follow-up after. I mean, you can ask for a company, and do a follow-up after people make their gift and say, hey, I saw you work at 3M. Did you know they have a great, program there? So, I think you're fine either way. And honestly, I'd love to get feedback. If there's people in the community here that have thoughts on this, please make sure to share it.
I see something in the chat. It just says QR code from Kim.
That was a plant. So Mankey, did you plant that in there?
No, I did not talk to Kim before this.
So the history of QR codes. Andrew Mankey used to be the young guy here at PSG until we hired, a couple others who were even younger. Early in the days of the pandemic, we were talking about, how do we help our clients? And Andrew Mankey said, I'm starting to see QR codes everywhere again. Maybe we should give this a shot. And we were vicious. We said, oh, look at the young kid with his QR code wizardry. Nobody's actually going to use that, because we were all grizzled veterans who've tried to make QR codes a thing, from 2000 to 2008. We put them on everything and it never worked. Nobody used them. Well, we all had to eat crow because Andrew was right. QR codes were back in a big way. So yeah, absolutely put QR codes on there. Andrew, do you want to talk about the Give Central thing that they've come up with?
Yeah, so Give Central came up with a really cool process where they can take personalized ask amounts. So they can take it so if you run it through AskGenius, they can take those ask amounts for each of your donors, and then they create giving pages for each of your donors with those personalized ask amounts in there. How the donor accesses that personalized page is they can do it through a QR code or a URL. So very cool new technology that's out there. Definitely worth using. Also with QR code, you can put that on your pledge card, but also if you're running out of room, you can also put that in your letter. So maybe right by the PS line, we always promote put it in PS lines. Right by that, you can put in a QR code as well.
Yep. And on that, there was a question earlier about the personalized, and I'll make this our last one just because I know that we're getting close to the end here. There's a question about, do you put your personalized ask strings in the letter or do you put it in the pledge card? Look at our webinar on how to write the world's greatest fundraising letter. The data is very clear. Your letter should be heartfelt. It should be meaningful. It should, connect with the donor. Stop wasting so much energy of asking in the letter a donor, would you give $118.75? Don't do it there. It breaks the spell. Let the pledge card carry that weight for you. That way you can write a letter. You can thank them for previous giving and all of that stuff. They go down to make a gift, and just psychologically, it feels, well, from a data standpoint, it works better to have them fill out a card where the bump is in the card itself. It's not in the letter. So this works if you're at a university or our client's Catholic diocese. It's not realistic to think that the university president is writing you a letter saying, I saw you gave $200, would you give $220? it is realistic that the university president would write a letter saying, you're one of our benefactors, you're great, would you give again? And then down in the pledge card, you see the ask string starts at 220. So lots more to say on that. I guess I don't want to take up everybody's time, but you really need to get it in the pledge card. And for those of you who are saying, well, that doesn't work, we only have one type of pledge card, our printer can't handle it, we stop saying that. That is not true. You're at a point now that you can raise more money for your mission. Printers are able to handle variable data. There's no excuse anymore. We even invented a cheap tool that can help you set those ask amounts. Don't settle for what you've always been doing. Now's the time. Get more personalized with your mailings. You'll see greater success out there. Okay, so I get a question here about the AskGenius learning more. Putting this up on the screen. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so if you want to know more, one, for any of the webinars, we put the links in here. We are going to send out a recording. Sign up for the e-newsletter, and we always promote all the different webinars we're doing. If you want to learn more about AskGenius specifically, those 3 spots are probably already gone, Andrew. I think I saw them in my emails pop up. But we can do one-on-one demos. We can open up some more spots where Andrew will sit down and talk with your organization. Otherwise, about every 2 or 3 weeks, we'll do a public demo to show how it works. The next one we're doing is September 30th at 11 a.m. Central. So we'd love to see you there. We'll walk through the product itself. And that will be focused just on this little tool that we built called AskGenius, that personalized ask amounts. In between now and then, I'm sure we'll have more webinars. Coming up next, we have a whole bunch of stuff on end of year giving, putting together, year-end giving matches, strategies, all those fun things as we get. Because basically, Andrew, it's pretty much Christmas right now. Did you know that?
Yeah, every store I walk into, it seems that way. So.
I mean, we have Halloween for a minute, and then it's Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas, and basically it's end of year. So
yeah,
we're already there. Okay. Thank you, everybody that attended. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us on this. Hopefully you found this helpful, and we'll see you again on the next webinar.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.